Hello and welcome to this beer clipper video. In this video I'm going to do a build of the Marauder Destroyer from Aeronautica Imperialis. Now I did not do this one as a time lapse, I actually chatter away, so it's a slightly different style to the other Aeronautica video that I did, but I would be really interested to hear which one you prefer, whether you prefer the sped up or whether you prefer this style. Do let me know in the comments below, that would be really, really awesome. But otherwise, even if you don't want to comment, that's fine. Thank you very much for watching and I will see you again at the end. Right, so I'm going to assemble these now. Marauder Destroyers from the Imperial Navy for Aeronautica Imperialis. Haven't been in Aeronautica Imperialis world for a fair while, but with the tidying I did over the weekend, last weekend, I think it's time to go back. I've got quite a lot of it to do, and this will be a lot of fun to assemble and paint. So as I've done in my previous ones, I will assemble one, make sure I get it right, and then assemble another one with you watching, and then I'll put the painting for this over on my other channel, An Average Painter. I'll do a full time-lapse painting it, and also probably as part of that time-lapse I will also think about applying some of these, what Americans call stencils, what I call transfers. So yeah, I'm going to have a look at this, give the everything a wash. You don't normally need to wash the Aeronautica stuff, but I'm going to do it anyway because the worst thing in the world is when your paint falls off. It only adds a little bit of time. I can get this washed now. I've not got time to start, so I can wash these now, leave them to dry overnight, and then when I get to them tomorrow, I will be able to, yeah, it'll be ready to assemble. So yeah, I think I get two in here. Pretty sure I get two in here. Looks like I do. So like I say, I'll get one assembled and then we'll have a look at that and I'll show you how to put it together in detail as well. So thanks for watching. Well, I've managed to assemble it, and yeah, that went together pretty well. Did that half last night, half this morning, and now I'm going to try and do this on camera, so we shall see. So how much of it I record and how much, whether I skip any. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get A3, and these went together a lot easier than some of the other ones that I've assembled for Aeronautica. So you need some side snips, and I've also got my sharp knife just here, my hobby knife, just to clean some of the bits off where you snip it from the sprue, otherwise they look ugly. So there we are, and the second thing you need is A4, which is a little 90-degree thing, which I can't see now. There it is, A4 up here. And this is where we see the third and final tool that I use, which is some fine tweezers, which I don't actually use all that often, but I do use. So let me zoom that in a bit and see if, yeah, I think that's going to be fine. So this bit here slots into that little gap there. So I make use for my glue of Tamiya Extra Thin, and have this awesome thing from Edma, the Edma Hobby thing, which means that I have to be very, 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 very clumsy to knock it over. Now that's not to say that's not impossible to achieve, but yeah, it just makes it less likely. And this slots in down in there. So what I'm going to do is I hold my tweezers like that and slot this in like that, and then tap it into place. Hopefully that came out nicely. I think that was all in shot. And then use the applicator to put the glue around the edge. Don't need to put too much in. There we are. And then make sure that it's seated in really securely there. So that's that. So then we do the other side, which is A1 and A2. And again, it's really nice. This is one thing that these kits do, which not all of them, I need to zoom back out again, sorry. The one thing these kits do, which not all Games Workshop kits do, is they're actually very nicely labelled on their sprues. You're not looking at it going, huh? Where does that go then? Because all of the numbers are very clear to read, and the instructions, certainly on this one, are very clear as well. Unlike the one where I did put the wings on backwards. That was a few years ago now. So we take that one, and then we get the other one, A2, which is the other 90-degree one, which is over here. And we do exactly the same thing. So clean it up. Take it with the tweezers. Drop it in like so. Tap it so it's seated. And then drop a little bit of the glue around it. This is why I really like using this extra thin cement, because trying to do that with super glue, it'd be stuck to my fingers. There's just no chance it wouldn't be. So that is steps 1 and 2. Let's get step 3 done as well. So step 3, clonk, is cutting A6, which is this piece here. So we'll snip that off. And I did largely follow exactly the instructions. However, there are a couple of points where I've done it slightly differently. So hopefully that will help. Basically, there was just a little bit of a bad order going on, I think, personally, to how you assemble it to make it a bit easier. So I'll show you how I get to that in a minute. So again, we clean that up. And what happens is, people tease me for not dry fitting, but I always dry fit these. So they stick together like that. You can see there I've actually got a little bit of sprue. There we are, that wasn't cleaned quite enough. And there as well, let's clean that down. So that goes like that, and then this sits on top like that. So let's get our glue, and I'm going to run that around the outside where it's going to join, like so. And as you can see, you don't need lots. And then that drops on top. And then with some more on the top here. No, some more. I did this on my own as well. Let's just make sure. Yeah, I did this one. I did this off camera as well. Oh yeah, put glue on the bottom. That's where we put the glue. And then this slots on there. Now it's not a major issue having the glue on the bottom, because the next section that we're going to do now, which is A5, which is that, is going to be glued on next. So it's not the worst thing in the world. As I say, I did it before. It didn't cause me any problems. So snip that off. Clean it up, like so. Oh, I need to mute my computer. I have all sorts of Discord going on. There we are. And then once again, just add a little bit more. As I said, I had put a little bit on, but it does evaporate this. So I'm going to put a little bit more on now. And then drop that in place. And that is the first 3 sections of the assembly. So I'm going to move on to section 4 in a second. Right, step 4. That involves these pieces here and these 4 pieces here. So what we're going to do is, eyes twitching. So I'm going to do them in order based on how they do it, because that then makes it easier to slot them onto the wings. So doing things in order is always a good idea. So the first thing we're looking for is A8, which is this one. So we'll snip A8 out. There. Clean that up. Did that pretty well with that cutting, actually. And then we take the A7s. Now the A7s are all the same. All these 4 are the same. So you don't need to worry about getting those in order, but just snip those out. And again, have a quick look to clean it up. And these go on the end of this section here. Now they've got a little key, which is good, and if I could advise you to stick the deep one in first, the inward one in first, because it will be easier to reach. If you've stuck the outer one in, you're likely to knock it off, and that would be really annoying. The other thing you can see is just how quick you can work with the plastic cement, because it welds very quickly, and so I'm not having to wait for things to dry at all. Right, that's done nicely, so a little bit more. There we are. And then stick that one on, just make sure you get the key in the right place. Can only go in one place. So there we are, that's that. Right, the other side is exactly the same, so I'll make that and be back in a second. Alright, so we're now on to step 6 and 7. So once again, I'm going to make sure that I work in the correct order. So the first one to snip out is number 9. So we'll take number 9. And then we take the result from panel 4. And that gets stuck together. That was a little bit awkward. It's funny when the camera's rolling, you're really aware of where it is. And then after a second you forget, and then you realise you're out of shot and everything goes wrong. So we take that and we get the one from number 4, and it slots on very nicely. The shape is exact. Again, really nice kits these. So we'll just slap a little bit of glue on there, and then that goes on. And if you're not clumsy, it goes on straight away. There we are, so that's what that looks like. And then the last part we're going to do is take a 10, which is these parts here, the rear of the turbofan. Snip them out, tidy them up, and glue them on the back. There we are. And this is where I got to in one sitting yesterday evening. I started quite late, and that's how far I got, but I'll probably just keep going and get this all assembled in one sitting. Now what I should say as well is I have not washed these. It was too big to fit into my wash basin, and it would have taken loads of hot water, and that's wasteful, so I decided to assemble and then wash, which is not my usual pattern. But I will still definitely be washing these, because you do not want your paint to fall off. It's the worst thing in the world. There we are. So as you can see, super quick to assemble. I've already done the second one with no time at all taken. There we are. And then there it goes. There it goes, and there it goes. Clean that up and put that on, and that will be numbers 6 and 7, step 6 and 7 done. Flying through this. There we are. So step 6 and 7 are done. Back in a second with step 8. So step 8 is where it changes a little bit. So the first kit I used A16, A15 and A14, but for the second kit you get it from the D sprue, and you get D15, 16 and 17. So, and this is also one of the fiddlier bits, which I struggle with a bit when I wasn't filming, and yeah, hopefully I'll be alright. So here's D16 and D7. I also dropped this. D16, D17 is this little kind of like cockpit area, and D18 is up here. D15 even is up here. There we are. So this is like a gun turret thing, like a whatever bolter turret. I don't know. I don't actually know anything about the lore of 40k or any of this. I just like the miniatures. I've not played the game. I just like the miniatures. And I was fiddling with this for ages and ages and ages until I noticed, and I'm going to zoom right in and see if I can get this so you can see. So I don't know how I didn't notice it, but on, I need to get this in shot. Apologies, there we are. So on here we've got little knob outs, little knobbly bits out, and on here you've got the little knobbly bits in. And I don't know how I didn't notice it, but I was fighting this for a good 2 or 3 minutes last night. And then I suddenly saw them and was like, oh, it's just easy, isn't it? So now, having learned that, I can point that out to you. And it is as easy as that to assemble. However, if you don't see those dots, if you're blind like I was, it's a real pain. So that's that, and then this goes in over the top, like so. Now, the instructions tell you not to use this for a little while yet. There we are. That was a bit fiddlier than I remembered. Yeah, the instructions tell you not to put this on just yet, but if you want to, you can go ahead right now and glue it onto the top of your spaceship model here, pointing backwards, and I'm going to do that just so that I don't lose it. Now, it does have a little key in the bottom of it. I think that might be to put a magnet in if you want to magnetize it, but I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to bring my other one in here, and it's going to be shooting the opposite direction, like so. There we are. So that's in and in the right place. Now, that's just one of the couple of things that I do slightly differently from the instructions. We'll put that to one side. Next, we're looking for D1 and D2. Now, this is where there's 2 of these on this sprue. So when you do both kits, you're going to be using D1 and D2. And this also was a little bit fiddly, so I'll try to demonstrate this as well as I can on camera. And you take the result of this one and then combine it in the next step. And then after that is where I make another change to the instructions, because I realized that the instructions are pretty good. As long as you're moving fast, you'll be all right. But if you're wanting to stop, then follow my advice. So this is held in your hand. Again, try to zoom that in if I can. So this is held in your hand like that. It's a bit hard to show. And then this comes in and slots in underneath. Let me just try and get this right. So that's like that, and that slots in. Ah, there it is, yeah. So it slots in like that. And that's how it should look. So let's get my glue in. It's just a bit of a, and I dropped it, which means I've lost my orientation. It's probably being clumsy. It's a bit of a head scratcher in a way, this, to make sure you get it right. But also in one sense, there is only one way it can go together. So that's how that looks there. Hopefully that was visible enough. So what we're now going to do is we're now going to go for D4, D3, 5, D3. And that is these things here. So that is D3. Cut that out. There we are. And then D5 is this bit here. Okay, so we'll get those cleaned up very slightly. Nice and clean. So once again, these have little notches that will help you to assemble it. However, it is a little bit fiddly again. So what we do is we take, you've got 3 barrels on the gun, and then you've got like a little kind of like upper bit, and that will help you identify. That makes this D3, which means this goes on this side. And again, I fiddled a bit with this last time, and then suddenly it was obvious to me, and hopefully it will be not too fiddly and annoying for me while I'm doing it on camera. I think it was a bit more obvious when I turned it upside down like that, and it slots in. This is great YouTube, isn't it? A clumsy person struggling to assemble a model. There we are. That's it. It needs to line up. So it needs to line up at the top. So you're not doing it in the inside, you're doing it on the outside. And that's where I made the mistake before, and that's where I just tried to make the mistake again. Warts and all in this build, as you can see. There we are, a little bit of glue. And then slot that in. Oh, my phone's making noise. And then do the same on the other side, so a little bit of glue. Once you've got one side on, the other side is a bit more obvious. That's what I found. I'll say that and then I won't be able to do it again. There we are. Right, so this is suffering the cursor the camera's on, because I did not find this as hard when I did it the first time. But this is why you'll see I'm changing the order a little bit after I've assembled this little piece, because yeah, it makes a lot of sense to change it from here. At least you know, you can see the difficult bit. This is probably the hardest part of the entire assembly. Step 10. Come on. There it is. There it is. Hardest part of the entire assembly, that. And then last but, oh, and I broke it. Ah, dear. There we are. I got overexcited. It's definitely the hardest part though, as I say. Right. Little dip of glue. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to turn the camera off. I'm going to get this done right. I'm struggling with this. This was hard last time without the camera running, but it's doubly hard this time. Right, so maybe what I need to do is just sit and hold this, get this to dry. I will turn the camera off, but I'll turn it back on again when I've got this to dry, because I don't know why it's not. Don't know why it's not settling. I am going to have to put some more glue. This is a bit annoying. Alright, I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to kind of like let that set, put some more glue, let the other side set, and I'll come back when touching it is not going to make it fall over, and I'll try and let you know how long it's taken. I think I've worked out what I did wrong. What I need to do is put D5 on top of my result from step 9 first, and then look to glue the sides on, because it'll act as a guide. So that's what we're going to do. I am still going to unfortunately turn the camera off. I'm actually getting hungry, funnily enough. Actually, let's see if I can get away without turning the camera off. I did want to try and do this as a complete build without too many pauses. That's one on. There we are. Yeah, so that's what you want to do. Don't be silly like me. Or maybe take the learning from me. And that should be going together well enough. And the thing that I do differently here is it tells you to not stick this on for ages. However, you can see just what a faff that was and how difficult it is to put together. And you can probably imagine what it would be like to try and get this to stick on if you don't do it the way I'm going to suggest that you do it. Stick it onto the back of the ship now while it's still a bit loose, while it's still got a little bit of give, and then I'm going to go and get some lunch. I'm going to walk away at this point, get some lunch, let that set off, and I'll be back again in about an hour after I have my lunch for the next steps. Because yeah, you do just want to make sure that you can still shift things about, and as you can see it's still moving about and I'm getting things into exactly the right position. There we are, done it. So that really helps doing it like that, and that's how it's going to work. So yeah, that was a bit painful. I'm sure it was painful to watch, it was painful to film, but that's done. I'm going to stop there. That's step 10 and a little bit of step 14 done, and I'll be back in after I've had my lunch or what have you to finish off the assembly. Right, I'm back after lunch and stopped to do my half an hour guitar a day. If you didn't know, I've started another new YouTube channel called 30 Minutes Guitar a Day, and on that I am recording my practice sessions and I'm loving it. It's nothing like being too busy. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to step 11, and what you're doing is you're taking D7 and D6, which are these two little gun things, and the sun has moved around. I do have a blind, but hopefully it's going to stay an okay shot and not get too washed out. So these get stuck together in the way that you would expect. So we're just going to clean them up. There's one. And there we are. And I'll glue those together with my thing, with this glue. It's very easy to glue these together. This one doesn't take any effort at all. So that's done. And now we have the fun part. So this is actually pivotable. So if I show you my existing one, the tail gun moves. You see? And that is what we're doing now. So we'll look for D8 and D9, which are these two pieces here. And this is a little fiddly to glue together, but it's not too bad. If you take your time, oh, almost went on the floor. If you take your time and just follow what I do, if I do it right this time. So I worked out a good way of doing it last time, hopefully I can do it again. We're actually really close to finishing the assembly, which is cool. Then I can wash it and then I'll go over to start painting it, and that will be on my other channel, not on Beard Clipper. That will be on An Average Painter. So the way that I have managed or worked out how to do this, and it is a bit annoying to clean up actually, particularly that bit there. I had a bit of trouble with that in the first one as well. What I do is I glue these together as one, and then kind of open a little bit to slot that in, because you want the oh, banging on the workman downstairs, great. So because you don't want to have any glue up at this end, okay, up at the end where the pivot's going to be. So rather than struggling, let's see if I can do this efficiently without making myself look stupid. I kind of pivot it open like that. Tell you what, I've got it upside down. I've got it back to front, so I kind of pivot open like that. Do that again, slot that in, and that way you maintain your the fact that that can rotate. So glue the two halves together, then kind of open that like a clamshell and slot the gun in, and that's that. So apologies for the banging, that's really rather annoying. What we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the second last or the third last. We've got a few more panels to go and that's all. So we take the one from number 12, which is what we've just assembled here, and we're going to put our the little mini wings on it. So again, have it in the same orientation as the picture to make it easier for yourself, and then get D11. I don't know what he's doing. I think he's putting some electrics in, and so he's probably just running a channel or something, which is going to mean there's going to be lots and lots of banging, probably. I hear him moving his ladder. Prepare for the banging to continue. So yeah, so D11 goes in there and slots in, and it should slot in really, really nice and easily. This kit has the perfect fit, honestly. So that goes in like that. What we'll do is we'll do the other mini wing, and then we'll do the wing tips. Again, just makes it a little bit easier. And if you're a little bit nervous and you want to, you can glue the wings in, pause, and then come back and glue the wingtips on. But on this, there really is only one way it can go, so that's good. And look, the sun's come out, it's going to ruin my shots. Let me just rotate the camera a little bit to keep in the shade. There we are. Yeah, so that's that. And then the wingtips, if we keep it in the correct alignment, we're going to look for D13. Stick that one on, and then look for D14. Now on my first one, I actually cut this a little bit badly. So let me see if I can show you what you need to avoid cutting off on this particular thing. So let's zoom that in and try and show you without it being in the sun. So there's actually a little divot on top, a little kind of like something you want to keep on top of one of the wings on the top. And I actually cleaned it off by accident on the first one I did. So just try to avoid doing that. So that is going to go pointing forwards on there, because this is actually the back. It's actually the rear of the airplane, of the spaceship, of whatever it is. Whatever you want to call it. It's actually the rear. So that glows on like that. And I believe it kicks out there and goes vertical going up. And now we're going to do the last one, the second one even. There we are. So again, just make sure you don't accidentally clean off the little thing that you want to keep on top of this wingtip. Once again, a little bit of glue. And slot that in place, like so. And then we turn to the last one. And the last one, oh, actually, you know what? I missed step 6 and 7. No, I know I missed. I missed step 14 because I've already done half of 14. That's why. So what we want to do now, apologies, is stick our wings on. And they again can only really go in one way because of how it's designed. So that's really nice. So they just slot in like that. And then the other one will slot in on the other side, because that's the front. And, oh, I've done that the wrong way around. There we are. No, so I did it the wrong way around. They can only go one way. I wonder why they didn't fit. So that goes like that because that's the front, and these are weird. They've got like the pointy bit goes to the back, which isn't like how most of our planes work. I almost did the same mistake as I made on my very, very early build there. So that goes on there, like that. And again, this might require me to pause the video, just let it to set a bit before I do the final step, which I think I'll do, because I want these to have a good bond. Because when I did this the first time, I actually knocked them off a couple of times, and that was quite annoying. So I'll just pause the video, wait 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll do the last couple of steps. Alright, so it's been a couple of minutes, and that's now done. So now we're going to move on to step 15. And step 15 is gluing the back on here. Now fortunately, unlike the nose, the construction of the rear portion is strong enough and secure enough and obvious enough that you don't need to like stick that on straight away. You saw with the nose I needed to do that because it was all going to fall apart and it wasn't going to work very well at all. And then we come to the absolute last piece, which is D14, which is the last bit of sprue, and that is the final thing we're going to stick on. So well, there we are. We've managed to get through the whole of the assembly of one of these, including me making a couple of mistakes, but not too bad at all. So yeah, so the tail goes towards the rear, obviously. There we are, and here we have it. There is, what is it called? The Marauder Destroyer. I believe it's kind of like a ground attack bomber, and it's really, really cool. So I've got 2 of these, one I made before, this one I made earlier. Here's one you just watched me make. And yeah, the painting, I'm going to put this in the wash. I'm going to soak it once all the glue's dried. I'm going to wash it with soapy water so that when I prime it and paint it, the paint doesn't fall off. And then I'll prime it with a Vallejo grey, and then I will do the painting, but that will appear on my other channel at some point. So it will not be on Beard Clipper. So yeah, hope that's been interesting. I've got these primed up now, so I'll be taking those down to be painted very shortly. Really enjoying this little project. It's a really simple project, and I'm hoping that what I paint them as will turn out nicely. and that will, as I said, will probably be over on the Average Painter channel, the actual paint through. And I'll wrap this video up, or I'll come back once I've painted them to show you what they look like. So yeah, let's go get these painted. So there you are. That's how I built these two models. Now I have done a paint along of this video, which has been released on the Average Painter channel, and that will have been linked through the video and also in the footer in the description of this one. So go and check that out as well. That one is a time lapse, so that one's quite quick. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video or not, it'd be really awesome to hear from you. But even if you don't want to comment, that's fine. I really appreciate you watching, so thank you very much. And I wrap up by saying, as I always do in all my videos, to everyone, please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.